there have been three different waves of AI. And the first wave, which was a big wave actually, started back in 1950s with something called a Turing test, which Alan Turing performed. And what he designed or constructed a concept and some systems around it to really have a person see who is getting responses, and he doesn't know who is giving the response, whether the computer or a human. If the 50% of the time the machine is able to create a perfect result and give it to the user, and the user still thinks it's a human kind of a thing, that's the system has passed, and that's going to be successful. And that's where the Turing test has passed, and that kind of thought process started very beginning, and we can build onto it. Now, that was the first starting, or one of the very big starting. There are various points, and you can see this link in BBC, which I have taken the reference from, which has a decent narrative of that. So I'm going to briefly talk about history, what happened and what kind of challenges happened. 1950s, the Turing test was one of the big leaps. Then a lot of algorithmic, statistical, mathematical research was done, and you'll be shocked and surprised, at least some of you, that the first neural network was written in 1951. This algorithm, KNN, which is nearest neighbors, was written in 1967. So it just begs a question, like, if these algorithms, statistics have been there for so long period of time, like, why has the AI not been so successful? And again, I'll bring back, in interest of interaction, a question to the team. Like, what do you guys think? Like, why, if all this maths and statistics algorithms were there, why did AI did not flourish in the 1960s and 70s for that matter? So, though we had made significant advancement in terms of algorithms and this math, but the challenge was we did not have the right amount of data. And not that we didn't have the data, but also did not have the capability in terms of how these compute capability on such humongous amount of data can be done, and which resulted in something called as the first AI winter. The first AI wave really saw a winter, and a lot of people, excitement, investment happened, and then it didn't go further. I, in fact, go to the extent of saying, like, many of those things technically which are happening now could have been done in that period of time. For example, if somebody wanted to create an Alexa kind of app, at kind of a device, a system, at that period of time, technically they would have been able to do that. The challenge would be this: it's the user experience. It would seem something like that. You would ask Alexa in 1970s about how is the weather tomorrow, and Alexa will spin and spin and spin for a month probably, and then probably give a wrong result at that point of time. That's not a user experience somebody wants. And that's why, even if technically they were feasible, but user experience plays a very, very important role, and these changes were not so successful, and a lot of AI applications did not come in front. That said, the research and approach kept on happening. There were a lot of interesting things happening. For example, Stanford created something called a Stanford card to navigate in a room or places without hitting people. One of the very glorified news was in 1996 when IBM Deep Blue had beaten the champion of champion in chess, Garry Kasparov, and that was a big event. And then what continued to happen, this advancements kept on happening, but not much action in real terms were happening. But back in 2006, deep learning was coined as a term, which we had a lot of buzz is getting towards deep learning, but actually that term was coined back in 2006. So again, it comes back to the question, what now and why now? So for the last 10, 13, 14 years, big data as Hadoop and Spark and MapReduce, all of that big data concepts have really helped us really be able to address and function with humongous amount of data in a very sensible way. And that has paved the way for machine learning and AI to really flourish. On top of it, companies like Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Facebook have done a lot of advancements, investments, and what they have done is commoditized or packaged many of these services, which make it much, much easier for not so technical people to start using some of these capabilities. And that's why I think that commoditization, the big data revolution, all of that has resulted in helping what is called now the third AI revolution, and it's happening in a big way. Another important or glorified news or item happened in 2016, where again a particular board game, which is Go, was played by the machine, and it was successful in winning against the champion Lee Sedol. And actually, the Go game is more sophisticated, or has more permutation and combination of moves overall, and that really takes more sophistication than chess for a machine to beat. And if you see, it took several years for that point to reach, and finally it was achieved. So a lot of advancements, 3 different waves, and each wave has ups and downs, and we have at the hype of the third wave, but a lot of things have happened this time, and we will talk about that as well.